seen it quite a while that I have reached 1,000 subscribers. I was in Florence doing my wedding stuff, which is why I have not really reacted to it yet. However, I have mentioned in a video that I posted extra before, like an extra video that I posted before going to Florence. If you guys had any questions or anything for the 1,000 subscriber videos, that would be a fact about me, but I haven't received any questions, which is sad, but oh well. I mean, maybe this is your last chance to let me know what exactly you would like to see as a 1,000 subscriber video. Otherwise, I'm just going to improvise and take one or two questions that I had in some comments before, and I will just use those as a reference and maybe do my favorite things currently video or something like that, paired with the questions that I've been asked. Enough with the formalities and the long intro. I am going to hop into today's stories, which is for my spooky lovers today. So let me read the first story. The first is called "Let Me Tell You What I Saw in the Appalachian Mountains." Hello all. Originally, I'm from West Virginia. I moved around between the Appalachian and the Midwest some as a kid. Between the ages of 10 to 13, I lived in rural Kentucky in the foothills of one of the oldest mountain ranges on the planet. I lived with my dad and my grams. We lived in what we call a holler. Think of it like a cul-de-sac between a set of foothills. We lived in the middle of the neighborhood with nothing but family on both sides. No one lived across from us or behind us because of the foothills. When I moved in, my gramps had some rules I had to follow. At that time, I chalked them up to hillbilly stranger danger. There were things like don't mess around with the wild animals, don't go out in the woods alone. Then they got a little weird, don't whistle. If you hear your name, don't answer, don't go to it. And if you see someone in the woods, you might know, no, you didn't, and just come home. This experience happened in August when I was 11. My dad and I had mowed path through the tall grass and berry bushes to the left of the double wide we lived in. We camped out there a lot because it was close enough that we could check on my grams. Now, when you're in the woods, things are louder than you think. You have animal life, bugs chattering, the wind through the trees and grass. There was a stream that ran along the road you could easily hear. That night we had added the campfire to that list. My dad decided to go back up to the house about a quarter mile to get more beer and to check on Gramps. Before he left, he told me not to mess with the fire. After a few minutes of watching the fire, things started to get quiet, like real quiet. The wind had all but stopped. Bugs and animal sounds were all gone, and the stream sounded like it was miles away. I was getting uncomfortable, even though I've been left at the campground before like this. Then I started to smell and taste it. It was the back of my throat out of nowhere, this awful metal tang. After a few more moments of dread, my dad came back. He was mad right away. said he could smell burning metal coming up the trail. He accused me of tossing beer cans in the fire. I told him I didn't, and even pointed to the fire to prove it. He said there was a storm coming in and we needed to get back home, and he let it go. We left the tent and started our way back. Now, the very cool but very weird thing about lightning in the woods, this dance, is when the lightning hits, it lights up everything like the middle of the day. Well, up until the front of the trees. After the first set of trees, it's pitch black. And there are no street lights unless you have lights on your property. It's completely black. So it's pitch black, lightly raining, and other than the dim lights from the house windows, there's nothing. From eating watermelon, as one does in August in the mountains, when the first clap of lightning hits, everything is as bright as it can be. On the porch, past the yard, over the stream, past the road, and the ditches on either side. Just past the first line of trees, I could see the silhouette of it. Then it goes dark. This is also when I can start to taste the awful burning metal. I'm not really sure what I saw, so I just kind of stay still. It's a few moments before the lightning hits again. The figure is now closer, standing side by side to the trees. Then it's back again. I'm standing now, not sure what to do. It's been 20 years to this day, and I've tried, but I could never fully describe what I saw. This thing's head wasn't proportionate to its body. The arms were too long, and the torso didn't fit right. It was like if you asked a blind person to draw what a person looked like. It just didn't look correct. Once the lightning hit again, the thing is standing in the middle of the road. Not wanting to see this thing get any closer, I go inside. My Gramps is doing dishes and asks why I'm inside. I tell her I think I saw something. She almost immediately gets my dad on his feet, telling him to shut up and lock the windows and rooms. My dad, vaguely drunk, obeys. That night I sleep with her. The next day we discover the tent door is torn off. It didn't look like an animal. Things weren't cut or shredded, but looked like someone took and pulled it apart. My uncle, who lived a mile or so up, had all 8 chickens killed. Heads gone. No blood. The next few weeks, all the kids had to wait for the bus with an adult. My dad had to be late for work for almost 3 weeks. Anytime I tried to talk about it, I just had the subject change. I just figure I was a kid and it wasn't important or real. It wasn't until years later I finally understood. I was in my early 20s and some cousin were in town for Halloween. As I was telling this story, my aunt got irritated with me, saying, "Don't you tell them that. Don't put that evil on them." After I couldn't help but think back on all the times I tried to talk about it, and how I was shunned, my kid mind not realizing it wasn't as simple as a subject change, but then actively shushing me. Once I started dipping my toes in Reddit, I realized there was a name for this thing. The same name my auntie had called it that day at the party, and the other people who have seen it, the Goat Man. What bothers me the most is how, to this day, I couldn't describe any feature, or have I ever tasted that awful burning metal taste. So friends, if you ever find yourself in the foothills of Kentucky, please remember my Graham's rolls. So, apart from me almost having a stroke reading it because it had so many weird ways of writing things, so sorry if I had some hiccups here and there, this story is crazy scary. And I'm not sure if this is a true story or not, because it's in the no sleep thread, and I heard that that's sometimes not true stories. Let's hope it's not, right? I mean, we don't need no goat mans. Let's just pretend it's not real. No, but what do you guys think about it? I mean, if I would see like a person, if I would see some weird creature standing in the lightning, like forest with lightning, lighting it up, it's kinda crazy scary. Well, let's move on to story number two. Yeah, it is called Do Not Visit Rural Appalachia. For starters, this is off the record. I wasn't here. I will give a fake name. I will give fake locations. If anyone tries to contact me, I will do what I have to protect my family. This is a warning, nothing more. Do not travel to rural Appalachia. This doesn't start very good. Oh my god. Okay. My name is well, it's over. I'm a former sheriff's deputy. I'm 29 years old and I'm already retired with a full pension. It's hush money, really. I'm putting my family and livelihood at risk by posting this, but I can't stomach the thought of some dipshit city slicker going to those mountains and it happening to them. Was a deputy for Unicoi, country Tennessee. I hope I pronounced that right. It's a gorgeous place. Watching that sunrise over the mountains was an almost spiritual event. I never thought I would leave until it happened. It happened the fall of last year. Strange, because I remember it was particularly crisp, beautiful autumn. The leaves had changed. The entire valley was surrounded by an enchanting sea awash with reds and hues of orange. I was at a station filling out some paperwork and drinking my evening coffee with Richard, my partner. He was a good guy, new in town, as he and his family had just moved from Montgomery, and I took him under my wing. He was kind of deputy who stuck his neck out for you. Okay. He didn't mind putting in the extra hours, so you could leave early. He was my best friend. Around 7, we got a call for a 130 code for a dead body up the mountain in the campsite. That's not particularly surprising. Unicoi is well known for its population of bears and bobcats. It typically would have once or twice a year that some hotshot UP, sorry if I mispronounced that, would come in with 10 grand of worth of 10 grand oh my god, would come in with 10 grand of worth of equipment. Okay, so it's not me, it's the writing. Okay, I'll try again. Okay, some hotshot UP, whatever, would come view over the entire valley, but then I saw them. There wasn't one body. There was 5. One adult man and one female with 3 little girls. The man was leaned up against a tree next to their tent. His head was so slashed. I could see chunks of skull jutting out of the mound. That was his face. The woman didn't do far better. She was shredded. Her torso and head was about 3 feet from the tent, with some jumbled mush I imagine was probably her legs laying a few yards away. I'm sorry for this graphic description. I did not know. I read it with you, but I surely future me is going to put an trigger warning in the beginning. Sorry. Okay. It was sickening and the hardest part of the job, but I didn't realize this was something else until we found the girls about 100 yards away. They were stacked, well, that was what was left of them, neatly on a rock down the slope of the mountain. Their organs and dismembered body parts painted the boulder red with still drying blood. Like I said, I'm sorry, and there will be a trigger warning. Deputy Davis, who made the call, was nowhere to be found. It was getting dark, the kind of suffocating darkness that swallows you and doesn't let you breathe. Water, whoever did this, was still out here. I told Richards we needed to get back to the truck and call it back up and a rescue team to look for Davis. As Richards and I started back up the slope, I saw it. Sitting on a bench of an old oak tree near him was a woman. Or what I thought was a woman with grey, cold skin and a sinister, crooked smile. Before I could even speak, she had already pounced savagely, screaming and slashing with her demon-like talon that forked unnaturally from her hand. I drew my service pistol and fired 8 times in a tight cluster in her side. She didn't even so much as pause her rampage. I think it's Richard's screams that haunt me the most. His whimpered howls remind me of a coyote caught in a trap, an animal who knows it's about to die. I could see the tears streaming down his blood and sweat-soaked face. His eyes were bloodshot and bulging. I froze. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even process what I was seeing. Some sort of demon from hell itself who came to slaughter something unnatural. She finally stopped and turned towards me. When I became a deputy, I knew that I could die on duty, but I couldn't fathom it was from something like this. I'm ashamed to admit at that moment I had accepted my death. I turned to my service weapon at my head and was about to pull the trigger to avoid a fate like Richard's when she was just gone. Like that, like a mist in the air, leaving me alone with the corpse of my closest friend on the slope of the mountain. As I carried his bloodied body up the mountain to the truck, all I could see was this scene in my head. It seared into my mind. When I called for backup instead of the sheriff's office, several large black vans showed up, filled with unidentified men in suits. what had happened, and I would receive a hefty retirement package. I took the deal. I don't know why she didn't kill me. It haunts me. I can't sleep, I can't eat. All I see is her ripping apart Richard. The day before I left, I spoke with some Cherokee elders, and they told me it was something they call... I'm not gonna pronounce it, because I'm afraid that it will haunt me then. I know that I'm nowhere near that place, but I was always told from stories and whatever not to pronounce or spell out the Native American name of these things, and I won't do it. I'm sorry guys, I'm too afraid. I can write it in the description, but I'm not gonna say it. A demon who stalks the Appalachian, haunting her prey. Whatever it was, I'm begging whoever reads this not to go visit the Appalachian mountains. It's not worth it. Don't let her get you. Do. So I'm pretty sure this story is fictional. I mean, it would be quite a hefty story to just write when you saw your friend actually die. At least in my opinion. It also doesn't have the tone like other Reddit stories that are supposedly true, so... But like I said, I just looked up Appalachian stories and I just copied out some of them to read, meaning I'm never sure what I'm getting to read before I'm reading it with you guys. Otherwise I always feel like my reaction is not as genuine. But this story is almost too much, maybe. Maybe I'm not doing it justice, but what are your thoughts? Also, maybe at this point it always gets harder to find like good true stories. So if maybe you have a ghost story or Appalachian stories or bizarre things that happen to you and you want to be featured, please be my guest. I am going to soon add my email address to the channel so that you can submit some of your stories if you have some. I always think it's more interesting to hear it from people that I like, from actual people instead of Reddit, but you know, let me know what you prefer. So let's read the third and last story for tonight. I'm thinking this one could be true because it says experience, and oh well, let's just find out together, shall we? So this one's called Night in the Appalachians. So my girlfriend and her friends invited me to stay at a small cabin Airbnb in the Appalachian mountains near Seven Devils. The idea was just to go up there to enjoy some snow topping and then some light drinking, hot tub and board games in the cabin afterwards. So the cabin was pretty high up in the mountain, and the drive up to it was kinda scary. Single car length road for the most part, no railings, and the side of the road. So if you were on the side of the truck, which we'd rented for WD to make the drive up, thank goodness, it was a sheer drop on that side. Sure, if we drove off the road, we'd likely be stopped by some trees on the way down, but still a bit nerve-wracking. Another thing was some of the trees on the trail had faces on them for decoration. I think they were supposed to look cute, but they just look kinda unnerving for most of us. I really should have taken pictures, but I was too anxious during the climb. The cabin itself was almost on the top of the mountain and fairly small. A small living room with a very tiny and narrow kitchen and 2 bedrooms, hot tub on the lower porch because the cabin itself was basically on the 2nd floor. So you had to go up a stairway to get into it. A key to the was in a lockbox, so no special door lock option, just an old-fashioned cabin. We came back after snow topping and dinner. The others drank enough to get buzzed, whilst I only had a glass of wine since I have a condition that makes it dangerous to get too much alcohol in my system. So, relatively sober. Enjoyed the hot tub as planned, witnessed beautiful shooting star, then played board games after that until about 1 a.m. and we all went to bed. I woke up a little after 4 a.m. because I was suddenly sweating, and then I felt kind of unsettled. Decided I needed to go to the bathroom, so I got up. I left the bedroom and nothing seemed amiss, so I used the bathroom. When I left the bathroom, the front door was wide open. Naturally, I felt immediately uneasy, but again, this was a small cabin, so there was nowhere for any intruder to hide. I could easily see the entire interior of the cabin from the tiny hallway. I decided maybe the last person through the door last night after the hot tub didn't fully close the door and lock it appropriately, because there is a sign by the door that says close door firmly, and it was fairly windy outside. I mean, the wind was howling out there. So I go over to the door and close it, make sure that it's firmly enough in the doorway to fully lock it. I even jiggle the handle a few times and I try to see if it'll open. When locked, it doesn't budge, so I start to head back to the room. Then I hear the door rattle a little bit, and I turn around and stare at it. I watch the lock itself turn, and then the door opens, and it doesn't slam open from the wind. It just slowly swung open. Oh my god. I stayed extremely still because, of course, that was crazy. The door had a huge clear window on it with no curtains. A big window beside it that also doesn't have curtains, and there was absolutely no one on the other side of it. There's no way someone could have ducked out of view and hurried away from the door after pushing it open either, because they would have had to make a lot of noise hurrying down the steps to get off the walkway. Like I said, it was an old-fashioned door as well, with a simple lock and knob, no electronic buttons or anything to unlock or lock by buttons or remotely. After getting the nerve to close the door again and locking it firmly, nothing else happened that night. I couldn't really go back to sleep because I was just too scared to do so. The following morning I told the others about it and they were pretty spooked too, but otherwise glad we were only staying that one night. Before we packed up the truck to leave, there was this strange knocking noise coming from the surrounding woods. Not like someone knocking on a wall or a door. It was deep, hollow-sounding knock that only knocked twice, stopped for a while, and then would do it again. Maybe it was just trees knocking together, but after what happened early in the morning like that, it was a little unsettling. So yeah, I'm from Florida, and though I've experienced other paranormal activity before, that was the most physical thing I've experienced, and I've definitely heard plenty of stories about odd occurrences in the Appalachians. In a way, I'm glad I had experienced something, but I'll never forget the fear I felt. After all, my first thought was an intruder or something, and it would have been pretty bad being up there so high by ourselves. If we had any reason to run, we could have easily fallen off off a cliff or something in the pitch black darkness outside. So yeah, weird priorities of being scared, like we could have fallen off a cliff. What about the ghost that just opened your door to strangers for everyone to just enter, including bears, animals, and whatever else lurks in the Appalachian mountains? Like, are you okay? Like, falling off a cliff might be the least of your problems when you're in a, like, rural Appalachian mountains. Especially after experiencing a lock opening by itself. But that's just my humble opinion. So this story seems real or true. Like the style, and also, I mean, I would be scared to death. I probably would have stuck up furniture so that the door would never be able to swing open again unless I make it. If that makes any sense. Oh well, I hope you enjoyed today's spooky stories, and let me know in the comments below if you would love to submit some yourself. You can leave them in the comments if you already want to, or I will add my email in my description, so you can submit it if you want to. Also, I want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart for 1,000+ followers. If you want to, there's also a thanks button now. That's so funny, especially for Pokemon videos. Maybe that would be helpful since the cards are so expensive. Anyway, thank you from the bottom of my heart again, and I'll see you in my next video, which is probably going to be the 1K subs video. So if you have any questions or any requests, this is your last chance